Have you ever made a god before? It is easier than you think. A pharaoh once had done it, and men like you had once done it. And they will do it again. It may be hard to understand the concept of godhood for a mortal being, an individual, but try and expand the scope of what a god truly can be. It isn't limited to a number. A single god can be many things at the same time. I have found such a god. Not a single entity, not a single idea, but a multitude of things, a network of things. But this god was dead, its last breath leaving the mortal plane long ago. It all began with an accident in a uranium mine. The mine was located deep in Russian Siberia. An explosion opened up a large cavern which collapsed a large portion of a cliff. After a long operation of removing the rubble, they had finally reached the opening. What they found inside, though, they needed professional help for that. That's where I and my colleagues came in. As an archaeologist, the prospect of something new and undiscovered excited me immensely, especially something that is located in a Siberian uranium mine of all places. When we landed, the weather was clear, and we needed to drive by car to the actual site. Luckily, the drive wasn't all too long, nor was the road treacherous. When we arrived, we were taken to an opening, which apparently sloped downward and went deep inside the earth. We were required to wear protective suits and masks, as well as carry radiation detectors. This was a highly radioactive place after all, and a small drone which they had sent inside detected increased levels of radiation. The precaution was warranted. After we were all set up for the journey downward, we had a designated escort who had supervised us at all times. Allegedly an agent of the Russian government. I didn't care much for that. As long as she let us do our jobs, she can go to the ends of the earth with us. Soon enough, we had begun our journey. The slope didn't have a steep incline, but it was noticeable. The inside of the hull was dark, and we had to use our flashlights. The walls were smooth, surprisingly enough. It was as if they were artificially smoothed. They were naturally occurring rocks, which looked like they had been man-made. Pyrite, also known as fool's gold, can have a near-perfect cubic shape naturally. It is due to its chemical makeup that allows this to happen. Though I understood that, this simply was on too large of a scale to be natural. As I pondered going down, our voices quieted, and we were left only with the sound of our footsteps and the occasional beeping of our radiation devices. We finally reached the end of the long, dark hall. The cavern inside was large and spacious. On its walls and ceiling were some kind of glowing crystals, which illuminated the room ever so slightly. We could see without our flashlights, but still not clearly enough to see the large shape which was located in the center of the large room. When we shone our flashlights toward it, we finally saw the thing we were called for. It was a metallic, cylindrical pillar stretching from the floor to the ceiling, which I would estimate to be 10 to 15 meters at the very least. It was about 2.5 meters thick and had a dark silver color to it. Though it was a perfect cylinder, it had a square plaque of sorts, which was pointed toward the entrance. It was the first thing we saw.
Be quick about this,
our escort told us, her voice muffled through the gas mask she wore. We could hear what she meant. We could hear the increased beeping of the radiation devices ourselves. Though it wasn't anything the suit couldn't handle, it was worrying. We approached the large pillar, the beeping slowly increasing in intensity. We figured that the source of the radiation was the pillar itself, but we had to get closer to it in order to see what was on the plaque. We could see something was written, but it was too far away to make out.
Sir, we need to get a closer look to see what's on that plaque.
one of my colleagues said to our stoic and calm guard. The man sighed, and from the bag he carried with him, he retrieved a small box-shaped object. He pointed it toward the pillar, then... and a flash of light lit up the room for a moment.
Here, I zoomed it in for you,
The man said.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
My colleague said. While we went to inspect the photo, we noticed that the radiation level had increased ever so slightly in the last few minutes. Though we didn't speak of it, we all knew. We just didn't want to panic.
Did you find out what it is?
I said, asking my colleague, who still stared at the screen inspecting the photograph.
It looks like Sumerian, but it isn't.
He said.
What do you mean it looks like Sumerian? You're supposed to be the expert, right?
Another one of us replied.
Well, yes. It looks similar to the Sumerian script, but it isn't. I can make out some of it, the word God, for example, but nothing else.
He said.
Well, if it mentions God or gods, is this supposed to be a temple or a place of worship? If so, they could have picked a better place.
Another said.
Listen, guys, I think we should ask the question, how did a Sumerian civilization build a near-perfect metallic cylinder underground which is surrounded by radioactive material in fucking Siberia?
I said.
Fair point. We can come back here at a later date. We got what we need for now. I need to figure out this writing first and foremost. It'll give us an insight to what the hell this place is. We should go back for now.
He said while handing the camera to the Russian agent. We all nodded in agreement. We were feeling a bit anxious about the whole affair, to be honest. But this anxiety soon turned into full-blown panic. The entrance behind us disappeared.
What? Where's the entrance?
One of us shouted while we started searching quickly for another way out. The situation made worse by the now rapidly increasing radiation level of the room. Our detectors were going off the fucking charts.
Help! Get us out of here!
One of us shouted while banging on the wall where the entrance once stood. I felt nauseous, sick. I saw the Russian agent vomit in her suit as the radiation pierced through. I could feel my skin start to sizzle and burn, and I had trouble breathing. I looked upon where the cylinder stood. Then I saw a bright flash. I thought at first it was just the effect of radiation poisoning, but I soon found out it wasn't. I felt as if something lifted me from the ground. I could hear the pained screams of my friends and colleagues as I could do absolutely nothing. Then the light became brighter, and I had visions. I saw cities rise up, then fall to dust just to rise again. I saw wars fought by sword, by gunpowder. I saw the atoms split as a blinding light filled my vision, only to see a mushroom cloud reaching high into the heavens. I saw hundreds of them, thousands even. Then I saw the text on the plaque, this time clearly, and it quickly translated itself into English. A deep voice spoke to me, reciting the text in front of me.
Have you ever created a god? It is easier than you think. A pharaoh once had done it, and men like you had once done it. Here lay the remains of said god, the remains of a once great civilization. A civilization infested with sin. For all the kings who had ruled my empire, none had done such great feats as my ancestors. My grandfather, the civilization of mankind. My father, the religion of mankind. Both of them destroyed and laid to waste everything that was before, in order to save mankind from sin. But even if they both kept their course true, they were not faithful enough. They were not pure enough. So I slay my father and usurp the throne. What came to dust shall return to dust, and I ushered in a new age for mankind to realize that prophecy. For all man was worth, and for all that we created, and how far and wide our empire stretched, we were never meant to be equals to God. I gave mankind a clean slate, and so that only for a short time, the world was that of absolute purity. A world void of sin, a world of absolute sanctity. how beautiful it was. And yet I lay here, awaiting the day that I return to my garden and my flock. None are equal to God Almighty. But I am the closest being to come close to Him. I am His servant. I am the Lord of mankind. I am your God!
All went black, and I woke up in the local hospital alive. I had an increased chance of cancer, but I was alive for the time being, and I was the only survivor. It is a mystery how I survived. I am in awe of it myself, despite what I saw that day. What I can tell you from the research I've done, and the thinking I did, it is not the soul of a single person in that pillar deep below, powered by the constant radiation in the cavern, but the countless tortured souls of a dead civilization with a mad king on its helm. A collective consciousness, a hive mind, a being beyond our comprehension, the creator and destroyer of worlds. A true God.